Peacemaker episode 3 is another feel good episode. We get Chris going into the other dimension where the Chris was that he already killed, and he's just trying to find Hardcore and try to find some kind of happiness with Hardcore and his family because that's not something that he's getting in his main universe. You see, in the main universe, Hardcore still gives him the shun treatment, the get away from me treatment. So it's nice to see Chris finding some kind of happiness, even though it's not going to be long lasting. So, without further ado, we start off in this episode and we find out that Rick Flag Jr. in the main universe was hooking up with Harcourt right before he went to Corto Maltese and was eventually killed. So they started that episode clean with that. We figured that out, figured out Harcourt had another love interest. Maybe that's why Harcourt doesn't care to hook up with anyone else right now. Maybe she's hurt over that. Maybe we'll learn more about that in the season. And after that, of course, we get the intro. And I bring up the intro because can we bring intros back? Can we bring intros back? Like the 90s and 2000s, every single time we watch one of our favorite superhero shows, we get like at least a minute intro. We got the Smallville, somebody's sick. You know what I'm talking about? Can we bring that back? It makes you feel good when you're about to watch the episode. Like, I love this intro. But anyway, we have Peacemaker waking up in the other dimension, his other self's bed, hungover, open Pop-Tart on the counter, and his brother wakes him up. And his brother obviously cares about him. He's asking if he's on drugs or anything like pills. And Peacemaker's like, nah, I've just been drinking. So he wants to meet up with Harcourt as he texted her in the last episode. They meet up at Argus and he drives his peace cycle to Argus. And while he's driving, it get a whole bunch of feel good moments because we have kids crying, almost like he's Michael Jackson. Kids are crying, saying they love Peacemaker. Girls are lifting up their shirts, saying they love him. We see him smiling, having a good time. This part is hilarious because when he gets to the Argus building, he sees Rick Flag Jr., who is also trying to court Harcourt. We kind of get the feeling that they're seeing each other. And this Rick Flag Jr. is still a nice guy like he was in the main universe, but he's still creepy and jealous. So you get to see some scenes of him going around the corner and knocking over trash cans, just trying to see what they're talking about. And so Chris and Harcourt go out, just walk into town. They go get some hot dogs. They're smiling. This version of Harcourt actually has a personality. She's not just walking around scolding everybody and having a monotone voice. Like, she has personality. She's laughing. She's making jokes. And then you get like a main universe scene where this Harcourt, from the main universe is still being a jerk. And she's offering Adebayo coffee. And Adebayo is trying to tell her, like, hey, you are an asshole. You are a train wreck. Your whole life is shit. What about Chris? What's wrong with Chris? And Harcourt is still standoffish. Like, oh, there's nothing with me and Chris. Chris is just Chris, and I'm just me. We haven't really broken her shell yet. And then we find out at the same time that Economos gets a call from the Argus personnel saying that he fucked up the mission because he didn't tell him that Chris had a superpowered eagle, even though it's just a regular eagle. So now he has a new partner, and his new partner is none other than Judo Master, the guy who was beating Peacemaker's ass a couple times in season 1. So after we get that, we go back to the other universe where Chris is, and Chris is just having this heart-to-heart with Harcourt still. And we kind of get the feel that this Peacemaker in that universe, him being so loved, wasn't necessarily a great thing, because we get the feel that maybe he was kind of a dick to Harcourt. Not like a abusive guy, but maybe he was kind of screwing around on and stuff like that. And that's why it wasn't working out. And they're trying to find a way that they can work out. And while they're having this conversation, an explosion happens because there's a whole bunch of these members called the Sons of Liberty that are against the government and all government agencies. They've already blown up a couple government agencies, but they're busting into Argus to blow that government agency up, and they're taking hostages. Chris, without his suit, without his helmet, climbs into a pet store and goes on the roof and jumps through the Argus building on the top floor, and he's wrecking shop. He goes in there, he's killing people with pencils and lifting up off the ground. He's killing people with copy machines and shit. He kills every single one of them and disarms the bomb. And then while he disarms the bomb, his brother comes in with his superpowered suit. This got to be a badass suit because his brother just flies straight through a helicopter, unscathed, suit still shining. Like, hey, bad guy's dead. Good, cool. I'm going back home. Like that dude is sharp. So I'm liking the dynamic here between Chris and everybody else in the other universe. Like we get the fact that he's loved and well respected. Like he's been doing a lot of good. Like his whole family's been doing a lot of good. So after that, we get Chris going back from Argus, going back to his house, having a little bit of a heart to heart with his brother, telling his brother how much he missed him. He's got to be a little bit secretive about why he missed him, but they're just having a little heart to heart. He's excited. They're having a sip of scotch or whatever, and we're cool. And so the episode actually ends with Economos, Judo Master, and dozens of Argus agents coming to Chris's trailer to whoop his ass and stop him from doing all this portal hopping and whatnot and from this other dimension. So next episode, probably right away, we're gonna see Chris having to go up against the Argus members. And I don't really have high hopes for Chris making out of that one. What I think is actually going to happen is it's a theory of mine. I think that even though we don't see Rick Flag Sr. in this episode, I think once they get Chris and they question him and eventually they cordon off the portal and whatnot, I think Rick Flag Sr. is going to be the first one to go in one of those portals so he can see his son again. I'm not sure what's going to happen after that, but I think that Rick Flag Sr. needs that because right now, clearly, he's going through something. He's going through some kind of depression. He hates Peacemaker, doesn't seem to like his job that much either. So I would actually be excited to see Rick Flag Sr. going to see his son again. And along with that, if Chris somehow escapes, another theory of mine is that Chris goes back into the portal door and escapes into that universe in the ragtag team that he's already assembled. Vigilante, Economos, Hardcore, and Adebayo are going to have to go in there and save them. And maybe they'll see versions of themselves and have some cool stories to tell. So we'll see what happens. But so far, I'm liking this. I'm liking how each episode's progressing Chris's character, and you get to see him become and actually get out of this depression that he's been in. So that's all we got for today. Kind of a short episode. I thought it was gonna be like 45 minutes. It went by so quickly. Just a straightforward story of Chris being in the other dimension and having a good time doing what he does. I'm Scotty. You can find us on TikTok at Kuronocomics, or you can find us on YouTube and everything else on MLF HQ or Monolith Films. I will catch y'all next time.